All right, I would like to introduce our speakers, Abdi and Kedar. They are tech gurus. They have been involved in the nonprofit space, in the corporate space. They are very eager to get to help people learn about AI and the AI tools. I think that Abdi will share a little bit about a book that he wrote a little bit later, and along I think that you said that you wrote that with Kadar as well. And so they'll share that as well. So you have an opportunity to take a look at that. And they'll show us their platform, Grantlytics, which is an amazing tool, and they're going to walk us through it so that we know exactly what it is. So um, Abdi, Kadar, thank you for joining us today. Kadar, take it away.
Actually,
Oh,
yeah,
I'll jump in.
let Abdi start. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Abdi.
yeah. Thank you so much, Heidi, Karen, Maggie, for making this happen again. Thank you, Sierra, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for coming today and participating in this webinar. Some of you might have seen us before. We've held a couple of webinars prior to this, and we're very much working with Together SC to share our knowledge, what we are seeing in the space when it comes to AI and the new technology, as well as what we are hearing from foundations, other nonprofits in the States, and what they're thinking about, what they're doing, what board members are thinking, etc. So my name is Abdi. Just a quick background on how we got to Grantlytics. Kedar and myself, we were at Harvard doing our master's in innovation technology and came across a problem within the math education space, which was focused on how do we reduce linguistic barriers in K-12 math. And while we were working on that, the project became much more than we anticipated. So we needed some funding to continue working on that post-graduation. Um, and that led to us going through different databases, grant databases, grants.gov, Massachusetts grant state base, as well as Candid, Foundation Directory, Instrumental, Impala, all of these other great legacy databases that are out there, trying to put keywords to figure out, are there anything that we could apply to within the removing linguistic barriers in K-12 math. Um, we fell short after spending nearly 50 hours going through those different platforms, and we got three or four potential opportunities at the end, which we thought was great. And then when we read deeper into them, we realized that we didn't qualify in terms of eligibility and requirements. So from our standpoint of view, it was spending 50 hours of waste of time, essentially, right? And that brought us back to the fundamentals of what we were doing at the school and prior to coming to the school as well. We were product developers in healthcare, financial services, Microsoft, etc. And spent a lot of time in the community of MIT and Harvard looking at almost in every single class, how can we use AI to streamline different processes? Um, that led to us thinking about there must be a better way to search for opportunities than spending hours upon hours. And before we went that route, we looked at the whole landscape and did some analysis to see what are other nonprofits doing. And collectively, we were not far off. Organizations tend to spend 20 to 40 hours in looking for opportunities, and then almost similar amount of time depending on where you are, whether you're new or advanced grant writer in writing proposals as well. And organizations also tend to spend anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 a month in fundraising, which is 24 up to $70,000 a year if you think about that annually. So we saw there's a big problem there. And on the other side of it, there is when it comes to opportunities, you have almost $1 trillion in funding available. Now, granted, we are in a space where federal funding is cut, but generally speaking, you have 800 to 900 billion dollars from private foundations, DAF organizations, as well as the federal and the state. So we saw that there was a huge market of social capital flow, but for some odd reason, a lot of inefficiencies when it comes to finding opportunities that are specific to my use case, right? So we started looking at how can we use AI for that. So we built an agent or a few agents in the beginning, gave them the structure of what we did manually, and after launching the first version of it, we saw that we were able to see 9 different opportunities within a couple of minutes that were relevant for what we were doing. So we showed that to the professor, and the first thing that he said was, you should speak to every nonprofit organization in Massachusetts. Well, now about 8 months later, 8.5 months later, we are serving more than 350 nonprofits in the US, also some in Canada, Latin America, as well as UK and Africa. And what we're helping organizations with is how can you find opportunities that are relevant to your project, program, or specific initiative faster instead of spending 20, 30 plus hours. And once you find something, how can you vet those funders, and who else are those funders funding? And are there open opportunities? Is it invite only? And giving you a lot of things that you need to eliminate a lot of these funders, but also seeing the ones that you should spend time with, and also get to know their program officers, their board members, and see what the opportunities are, as well as if they have an open opportunity, you'll see that as well. From when we started till now, there's always changes happening in the product. And the changes are happening because we're talking to nonprofit leaders, executive directors, grant development managers, leaders of the nonprofit organizations, getting their feedback, getting their pain points across to us, understanding what they do today, and see if some of that can be automated. The thing that about AI is replacing people, it's a good thing to say to get clickbaits on news, but you still need the humans to make the impact in the communities that they're involved in. So AI is not replacing you, but AI is replacing the mundane tasks and the things that are very manual, and that could be more productive or more efficiently if you use AI in different use cases. In this case, funding opportunities, you can find a funding opportunity, you can write a funding proposal, and then you can also manage your pipeline. That's what we have been focused on. And just to clarify one thing, my and Kedar's background in the nonprofit space before starting Grantlytics was being mentors and tutors for nonprofit. We never knew what the operational side of the nonprofit space was, so we didn't take that lightly. That's why we, as Karen can attest to this, Sierra can attest to this, we're speaking every single day with leaders to understand what are you seeing, what is the pain point, what can we improve. You'll see a little bit more today, and Sierra will walk you through one of the features in the product. And she's doing that because and she knows this, and you cannot, we ask her questions, she gives us feedback, we make the improvements, we talk back, and we say, hey, what do you think? And then we ask others as well. So as you will see how the product works from Kedar at a high level, and then from Sierra on one of the features in the platform. We'll also love for you to ask questions, be critical, and say, why don't you have this, or this could be done this way. Whatever you're thinking, someone else is thinking, and we are here to help this space and improve that efficiency and reduce that gap between funders and nonprofit organizations to create the impact that we all want in the communities. I hope that was okay. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'll hand it over to Kedar.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Abdi. Hi, everyone. I'm Kedar, and I'm excited to show you a deeper view into Grantlytics, the platform that we've built. And I'm sure a lot of you are new to it as well, or haven't seen it in a while from some of our earlier webinars because it's undergone a lot of changes. But this is Grantlytics. This is the platform that we've built for helping find relevant opportunities, write tailored proposals, manage funding pipelines, and then build funder relationships as well and get more intelligence on that side. So what I'm going to do is just give an overview of the platform at a high level because we've sort of dove into the search parts and the write parts a lot in previous webinars as well. If there are any questions that come up, feel free to drop them in the chat, as well as we're always a resource after this as well. So there's specific things I didn't, wasn't able to touch upon. We're always accessible by email and happy to jump on a call at any time. So the way that we view Grantlytics is in terms of pathways, right? It's a bit more strategic. We started off with just the funding opportunities, and that solved our pain point, right? What are some open grants that are out there that fit what we're doing? But then we started diving into who are the actual funders that are funding my space and how do I actually connect with them? As well as who are my peers that are doing similar work as me and who's funding them? Right? So sort of seeing how we can go through these chain of funders, these chain of opportunities, and figure out where does all this funding lie, because it's out there, but the information is just so hard to find. And so at a high level, on the opportunity side, it's simple as what do you need funding for? Where are you based? What types of funders are you looking for? And and a deadline as well. And what we do is that we take your target beneficiaries, your mission, your your operational budget, your funding needs, anything about your organization to basically paint a profile so that we can deliver results that are as actionable and as relevant to you in the best ways that we can. So at a very high level, I did a search earlier. Very high level, and on my profile, which is also not specific to any organization that you're a part of, but I just said I need funding for a nonprofit focused on youth development, right, based in South Carolina. And what we come back with are the grants, the funders, and specifically excluding federal government agency as well, given all the federal funding cuts that have happened. The grants, the funders, a little bit of summary, but more specifically, why this matches your organization. And this is where we believe the idea of best fit is so important. How can we take, there are thousands of opportunities out there. How do we create a funnel that gets, goes to the hundreds of opportunities and gets down to the 10 or 15 or so that might make the most sense for you in this moment based on your organization, based on your program, based on your project, whatever it might be more specifically as well, right? And then from there, you can learn more and see what the questions might be, see what you actually need as well. We do some eligibility checking as well. And then within the platform, you can actually start working on the draft as well, right? We take the questions and you can start actually, going through the writing process as well, whether it's using your past proposals, whether it's using other documents or context. The goal is how do we realign your content, your story, your tone, your impact into what the funder is looking for and their priorities as well. And so that's how we think about that workflow more specifically. And then all of that is actually managed in what we like to call our workspace and more specifically the pipeline. And so we wanted to create a very comprehensive way that's transparent for organizations to manage where they are in the funding process, right? In terms of how do they have things in progress? Have they submitted grants? Are things under review? Are things getting awarded or rejected? And this was we spoke to so many organizations in the community who were like, hey, we have these deadlines here and we have these, we have a spreadsheet that has some of these opportunities here. But how do we create more of a centralized hub that's, organizational wide where people can see, wow, this is how we're doing. This is how, which opportunities are moving up the pipeline. And that's also how we learn, hey, these are things you're winning. How do we recommend more things like that as well? And so the more you're using the platform, the more we're able to provide those opportunities as well. And here, and this is just to sort of tee up Sierra for later on, is our programs tab as well, where we can manage programs. And Sierra will be diving specifically into how she's been using programs in her searches for her organization more specifically. So that was everything I just showed you was things that we have built and we have shown previously in other Together SC webinars as well, and what we like to call earlier versions of our product as well. The more interesting parts of it is actually the funder intelligence and peer side of things. And so funder intelligence is more about, like I said, it's about who is funding actually in this space. Who is getting funded from that? Who are your peer grantees? Who are some overlapping funders as well? What does their profile look like when it gets to trends, grants? Are there shared leadership or connected foundation links? Do they have open opportunities? And then most importantly, how do you actually reach out to these folks? Right? Some folks might be unattainable, some might be invite only, but it doesn't mean you can't start building a relationship as well. And so just as a high level example, I was doing a search earlier for foundations that support food security and emergency food access in South Carolina, specifically for nonprofits serving low income family and rural communities as well. And as you can see, what we get back with are foundations, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but we're getting core to, we're telling you why it fits based on here are similar organizations that they've been funding to you, and this is how they've been funding them as well, right? And so the goal is how do we provide more information where you're able to understand, wow, this is what their average grant size is. This is who they're usually funding. Let me sort of click on that and figure out if I need to learn more, basically, right? We want to map further funding pathways in more depth as well, right? The Marancas Foundation in Charlotte, they're supporting different organizations around the Carolinas and even nationally in food security, right? So why wouldn't they be able to fund your food security nonprofit in South Carolina as well, right? And so this is how we sort of think about here are some general things. If you know a funder, for example, maybe a lot of you are familiar with the Cape Fear Memorial Foundation, and that might be something that is, relevant to you. Sorry, not relevant to you because you've been funded by them. You're able to actually go into the process and say, hey, I already know this funder. Let's not include it for future searches. And so that's how we're also learning from our end as well. And then once we get this overview, then the goal is, and I sort of did a deep dive on something that might be more general to everyone here, which was around funders that support nonprofit capacity building in South Carolina, more specifically. And we get this deep dive that is focused on, the foundations that you picked, but more specifically, whether they have opportunities open, or as you can see here, the Duke Endowment, they don't accept unsolicited applications, but they do have a relationship path. And what does that mean, right? For each organization, we want to provide more intelligence, more details, more actionable strategies for one, you to learn about what the foundation is, what they focus on, how much do you even ask for? Because that's something that is, sometimes a hard thing to even understand. What does their giving look like? Is it very concentrated or is it sort of, given dispersed between different organizations as well? But more importantly, what does an actual outreach plan look like? Just because Duke doesn't have, open opportunities or RFPs, they do have a contact form, right? They do have a way to at least get some information, right? And so what we want to provide are the steps, the cadence, the ability to actually reach out to them. But then more specifically, who are relevant program officers that support local education nonprofit capacity building, right? Because there might be program officers that you can connect with on LinkedIn. And so we provide a message, that you're able to send as well, but actually directly integrate with LinkedIn as well to say, hey, these are the people that might be relevant to what you're searching for. Am I connected to anyone in that space? Is there someone that might be a mutual connection as well? And so we're really trying to make this a lot more actionable in that sense as well. A few other things as well is just understanding who else are they giving grants to? What does their leadership and board look like? And more specifically, is there leadership, board, and staff on, part of other foundations as well? Because just because Duke won't fund you, maybe there's another foundation with a shared trustee or a shared board member that will fund you. And then sort of diving in and again creating that chain of foundations and learning about who is in the space. So that is the funder intelligence side of things. And then I like to always, finish off with some of the more exciting, the most exciting thing that and what we think delivers a lot more of the value as well, is actually understanding your peers, right? And understanding, in this case, from all the searches I've done, I've had, 18 identified peers. And between them, they will have there's 531 unique overlapping funders. So there are peers that are similar to me, and there are so many people that have funded them and have given so many grants away. And it's just about figuring out who are the smaller foundations, or maybe it's the family offices, or maybe it's it's a national foundation that has funded another organization in South Carolina so that they might be able to fund you as well. And so, because I was looking for capacity building in South Carolina.
Kedar, just to
Yeah,
take a pause on that, if you scroll out a little bit.
yeah.
So as you guys can see, the idea for us, we're going deeper and deeper in the whole of like the trenches of who is getting funding and why are they getting funding and how do I get closer to that? Because at some level, if you're in South Carolina, you kind of know who the funders are. And when you're in the space for a while, you kind of figure out who all of the funders are, right? So you're kind of maxed out at some capacity. And the other question is on a little bit higher on that layer, who are the national funders that are funding your specific cause? Could be the Kellogg's or the Gates, whoever's out there nationally. But then the other question, which is what you see in here, and the reason why Kedar says exciting, and everything here is exciting for us, but it gets more exciting as you go deeper and deeper into this whole of should I pay someone six figures consultant to figure this out, or can I do it myself? How much time is it consuming? In this case, you have an idea of if there are 20 funders that we all talk about and we're trying to build a relationship with them and everyone else is doing, and the ones that I'm competing for the same grind is also building a relationship with. But when you look at these underlying factors of there are peers nationally that are getting funded nationally regardless where they are, and there's so many of them. Well, now you're getting the deeper insight of there is a foundation out here, Accenture Foundation, that is funding anywhere in the United States. But interestingly enough, Accenture Foundation, someone reached out to them and built that relationship, and others are not aware of them. They're not aware that they're in this space. So I just wanted to highlight the level of layers of information that we're providing here to make sure that you don't get stuck on the local funders or don't get stuck on the other funders nationally. There are so many underlayers of funders that are in this space that are interested in participating in space and are willing to have conversations. Sorry, Kedar, just had to point that
No,
out.
that's yeah. No, thanks for stepping in. Yeah, it's very important, like Abdi said, because for example, in that last search, that deep dive we just saw the Leon Levine Foundation, right? And they're funding the Children's Home Society of North Carolina, which was similar to my profile. And they've been giving a lot of grants away for general support and capacity building, and we can clearly see how much they're giving away and for what they're giving away too. But guess what? The Children's Home Society of North Carolina also has 29 other funders for similar things as well. So besides, the ones that we've seen, the Duke Endowment and Leon Levine, there's the Beacon Foundation Charitable Trust, right? Who've been giving away specific grants for different projects as well. The Annie Casey Foundation, the Canon Foundation, the list goes on and on, right? And this was just for like technology costs. So the goal is how can we again show who are the similar organizations to you, who is funding them, and then what are more details about those funders and actually how to reach out. And so I will stop there and stop sharing my screen there. But overall, Grantlytics has been designed with the nonprofit needs and with communities like yours to basically enable fundraising from end to end in all the ways that makes sense to actually get to the outcome.
And with that, we'll love for Sierra to jump in, share your screen. Heidi, if Sierra is able to share the screen. And then Sierra, just start with who you are and a little bit about your background will be helpful before you go through the program.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Hey everyone, my name is Sierra Hedrick. I am with Palmetto Goodwill. Here, our headquarters are in North Charleston, South Carolina, and so I specifically manage and direct our resource development, write our grants, and of course connect with funders in our community outreach. So I have had the pleasure with, of course, working with Together SC, but also with the Grantlytics team and really develop our resource development with Grantlytics and with this program. So a little bit about us. We serve 18 counties here in towards the Low Country, so Orangeburg and down pretty much. And so we have multiple programs, and that was a big part of our grant research, is really being specific with finding funding for each program and kind of narrowing our search that way. So I am sharing our programs right now. So on my workspace, I can look at my programs right here. Right now we are focused on finding funding for 4 specific programs here. And so you can see them listed, but it's super easy to add a new program. And so you just put the program name, description, any beneficiaries, your geographic area, budget need, annual goal, timeline goals, and of course, any metrics. So to kind of show you what that looks like. So for our ICANN program, that is for individuals who have a criminal background. And so it was very important for us to be as specific as we could. What was also very important, for me at least, is I was able to put every county that we serve. And yes, that is a long list, but I was able to put all 18 counties in our geographic area because we don't want to miss anything, right? And then I'm also able to put our budget need, the annual goal, our goals for the program, and our metrics, right? So we really want to focus on that recidivism rates, sustainable employment, and that kind of thing. So it looks very similar for each program. Now, when I go back to my pipeline, I will show you how just easy and productive it is. And so this is our funding pipeline right here. But right here where it says all programs, if I click on that ICANN specifically, it shows me the exact grants that I have saved for that program. So I can always go back. It will also track exactly, which ones are in draft, which ones are ready for submission, and of course that are ready to be submitted. And the same thing goes for our other programs as well. You can see that I've saved a lot for our Palmetto Warrior Connection. And so I'm able to go to our pipeline and kind of track it by program as well. And so just kind of seeing it in live action, I go to find opportunities here. And so I can find funding for that specific program. And so right here under programs, it will show every program that I put in earlier. And so I do Palmetto Warrior Connection, and I need funding for. This is very guided, and so it automatically puts what I need the funding for. It automatically puts all of the 18 counties, right? And then I can say, okay, I want it to include foundation and funders and corporate giving, but for this time, I want to exclude the federal and the state and local, right? Um, and so when I have put that information in, then it will find grants for me, and then that's what it will look like. So I am going to go back to our home page and kind of look at a search that I did yesterday. So this one right here, you can kind of see the results. I directed it towards our Palmetto Warrior Connection program, and I need funding for Palmetto Warrior Connection program. And then I added some wording to support workforce-based training for veterans. And so then it goes ahead and includes all of those counties and exactly what I'm focusing on, and what I'm looking for here. And so then again, here is all of the grants that come up. It tells me the funding amount, the grant summary, and so forth. So this has been very helpful for us to really narrow down our searches, because for nonprofits specifically, if you have multiple programs that you're trying to find funding for, it can be a lot, right? And so it's nice to have this tool to narrow down our search, make it as specific as possible, and just kind of cut my time in half, really, in finding the funding that we need. So, Abdi, Kedar, hopefully that was helpful.
No, thank you so much for going through that. I just because you and I had a conversation a few days ago, can you, if you want and if you can share, on my peers, you were able to see some funders like, if I remember correctly, like Workday Foundation was something that you haven't thought about or seen that was in the space. I wonder if it was through the National Skills Coalition, and the 18 supporting funders there.
Yeah, so let's click on this and see. So I was able to see for these are the peers that are similar to doing what we do, right? And so I am looking at what has funded them. And these are foundations that I have never thought of, right? Never heard of them. And so I can see, exactly how much they're giving this foundation, this not this organization, excuse me. And so when I click on it, then I am able to know more about that foundation, their overview, the funding as well, and then the grants that they have given. And so looking at this, this just gives me a deeper dive, because for us personally, we have noticed that really partnering with the funders is where we're going to have the most look in getting funding. Grants is great, but a lot, and our grant search is great as well, but a lot of the ways where we receive our funding is because of partnerships that we've already made and we've invested, right? And so that's what's key here. And so this gives us a whole nother avenue of really bringing that funding in and making those relationships.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sierra. Karen, I know you have the hand up. I just have a quick feedback here. So Sierra was looking at this as usual, sharing ideas and thoughts, and she said, Sarah, can you click on the National Skill Coalition again?
Mhm.
And then scroll down. I want to see the one that you talked about. Keep scrolling. Uh, Kellogg, Evelyn, keep scrolling. And Casey, Kresge. Yeah, here. So Workday. And
Yes.
so Sierra, if you click on that, so Sierra said, "Oh, this is interesting. I hope I'm not misquoting you, but this is interesting. I haven't seen these guys before. I don't know. I didn't know that they funded these people like us and supported things like this. Can I save this?" And as you can see here, there's no saving. And I was like, ah, okay, that's interesting. I know you want to save it. So Sierra, if you stop sharing the screen, Kedar, if you open your screen and just show Sierra what's coming in the next couple of days. And then Karen, we're giving it to you. So what I'm trying to describe here is that the platform is not being built because there's two tech guys trying to do something in this space. It's actually participatory design where we are co-designing the product. So Sierra, uh, Monday or Tuesday when the release happens, you'll see the save button there.
Yeah.
We should call it Sierra the save button, but you understand the point. So I hope everybody understands we are co-designing with the community. And thank you so much, Sierra, for sharing that. Karen, please go ahead.
Well, again, I just wanted to thank you very much, everybody. Sierra, I know you're very outcomes focused, so share it with the group. How much time do you think Grantlytics has been able to save you in the search so that you can focus more on the relationship building and, again, doing those deeper dives on some of the foundations and the peers that maybe you see, oh my, the average they're getting is 50,000 or 100,000. I had no idea, right? So first it's like they have to be on our radar. And secondly, like who else are they giving to? And then I love the LinkedIn feature to be able to then connect over and start to build a little bit of relationship. But do you have any sense in just the short time you've been working on this, how much time you've saved?
Yeah. So it really cuts it in half, if not more, because what happens is if I use regular AI, of course, and I'm trying to do my own searches, I can go in these loopholes and I'm looking for hours. I mean, I can spend 2, 3 days a week just in research alone, which is very time consuming. And so, and honestly, we're not, you don't want to waste your time as well, right? Um, and so I'm not searching over and over again, looking through multiple tabs, trying to find something where it is right there in front of my face. I know exactly who I need to contact. And also, Grantlytics, like they will draft a message for you. So even if you don't know what to say to them or how to introduce yourself, right? That also cuts your time down because it's just super easy. And I can send multiple funders similar messaging and start working on those contacts.
Thank you. That's incredible. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I love that it's basically you're still a super busy person. All of us in nonprofit are, but it's sort of it's shifting where you're putting your time, right? So
Yeah.
instead of spending those 2 or 3 days searching and feeling frustrated, you're able to again I think you're going to love this save button. I know I'm going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be able to save that and be able to go back and do deeper research, go to their website, and then as Kadar showed, like see you might be I always joke that people who say it's 8 degrees of separation. I think it's now two. Like somebody who knows somebody. And so, there may be, again, someone on the board of directors of that foundation that you didn't know existed that is, on the Duke Endowment Foundation and you already receive funding from them. So there's like a little bit of a connection there to be able to at least reach out and say hello on LinkedIn and start to build that partnership. My other question, and this is something that have devoted the month of July to thinking ahead as our new fiscal year starts is we've always kept our development pipeline, on our server, right? On our Together SC, closed private server, with a lot of other things and, spreadsheets and all Google Sheets and all sorts of things. But really interested in starting to put all the grants that we already receive into this hub. And then as we find new ones and get them, putting them in one place. So is that something that you're also using where you're hubbing everything pretty much in this? Or you still have some of it here and some of it like on a Palmetto Goodwill server in a different location?
So what I've been using when we first kind of started everything is we just like used an Excel spreadsheet for tracking stuff. And I still do because I love an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, don't get me wrong. But this makes it easier. This is a little bit more. The details are included. I'm not missing any information, and it leads me somewhere I need to go, right? And so, Palmetto Goodwill, we are, really starting and developing our resource development and our grant writing and that kind of thing, and really start, boots on the ground. We're starting, and so we have. For almost a year now. So this program for us is there's no missing pieces here, right? And there's no misconnect. My supervisor, our chief officer of engagement can look at this as well and see, okay, where is she spending her time? What has she found? This is the funders, that kind of thing. Instead of having 10 different kind of grant tracking spreadsheets and trying to share each one of them, this makes it, easy accessible.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Karen, before you jump in, I just wanted to add one layer of information from our side of the story, which is the more you use the platform and things are being saved, whether you're saving a foundation or you're saving a grant, we're getting a lot more information on your behavior to try to see when you do the next search of funders, who should we include, who should we exclude? Because if you save a lot of them, then it's like, hey, Sierra's interested in these ones, or Victoria loves these type of ones because they went from save to draft in progress, right? Then that means the next search you do will look for similar type of funders to come to the search for you. And then if you go and there are a lot of rejections or there's some rejections, then we'll say let's deprioritize these type of funders with these type of grant opportunities because they haven't funded Jenna or Gretchen before, right? And with that, there's a lot of intelligence in the background where we are like, hey, Excel just lives there, but step by step, if you're able to use the platform more and more, it will get to know you better. It will service these hundreds of different unknown funders that are funding the space, and that's done with that pipeline. Just wanted to add to that. So thank you for sharing, Sarah.
Yeah, my other follow-up sort of comment and question for everybody on this is that we all have been using AI, experimenting, exploring beyond grants and funding. And for us, having come off of a strategic planning process, it's really about having AI, having Grantlytics now, this tool know our language, know our narrative, know how we talk. And so the more we use it, the more it's going to understand how we always state our mission and how we talk about what we do. And again, that's really helpful instead of in the past cutting and pasting from old Word documents and, again, finding it in different places from the last grant that we did for so and so. I'm really liking that idea as well and appreciate that, like any AI tool, it's getting to know the organization. And then like in my case, since I do a lot of the grant research and then do the partnerships and go out to actually locate those grants and then try to secure them, it gets to know my voice, right? How I would describe something is different than the way maybe Heidi would, but it's all good. But I think getting the organizational narrative down in the language and having Grantlytics know it each time you use it and kind of perfecting it, I think will also be a time saver as we move forward. So I just sometimes we've been really, and I think in the first iteration of this in December and January, very focused on the search. But as Abdi and Kedar are saying now, what we're sort of moving to is the other features that have been created by you. And so I want to also just say thank you. We were one of the first state associations in the country to say yes to Grantlytics and say we think this is worth bringing to our membership. And we're really happy that people are starting to use it and getting good results from it. And it's been sort of an ongoing living lab because every time you have a question or you need something or you want a new feature, these two guys are like, okay, let's work on that. And then the new version of it comes out. And so it's been a very, as I put in the chat, sort of a very continuous improvement kind of thing. It's not like we're dealing with Microsoft here where it's like, we tell the advisory council what we want, and a year from now we may or may not get it, right? This is a lot more fluid than that, which is a good thing. So, and I just wanted to note that because I think that's part of what excites me about it. But I'd love to hear from anybody else that's thinking about it or playing with it, or again, playing with AI, maybe not using Grantlytics, but just, in the funding area, and see what other questions you have for Sierra, Kedar, and Abdi in the 10 minutes we have left.
I had a question for Kedar. Have you seen any trends among South Carolina nonprofits using your platform?
Yeah, so it's so interesting, right? Because Sierra's use case for the platform would be different from someone else's use case from a different organization, as well. And so what we've seen is there are some organizations that are focused on, I just need to find more opportunities because I'm not sure aware of what's out there. The grant search is great for me. But then there are the ones that are, hey, I already know what I'm working on. I actually just want to use the writing side of things and work on the proposals more specifically because that is taking more of my time there. And then now, as we've been introducing, funder intelligence and peer intelligence and all of these, these smarter ways of finding funding, our leaders of different organizations within the South, the SC community have said, wow, this is, and in fact, one of the processes actually came from one of the nonprofits in the Together SC community where, he was just like, I go through this process where I need to find the right board member on LinkedIn. I was searching through articles and going through 990s and trying to scroll through all these forms. And it was just such an inefficient process. And we're like, well, why don't we just build that into the platform in a very cohesive way, since it is the workflow that you're doing, but it just does it a lot more efficiently with more intelligence as well. And so the Together SC community has just helped a lot with us.
Yeah,
Abdi?
just to add to that, so for anyone listening and watching, it wasn't that nonprofit leader told us and we were listening. It was actually, hey, share your screen, walk us through what do you do, and and we spent about 15 minutes looking at the from one screen to another screen to another screen to another screen while he was talking. And then we also started asking other organizations for ask the same questions, and it was the same pattern. Like you have, like I said early in the beginning, you have these the new nonprofit leaders, and you have the experienced leaders that have already built some relationships, and they're looking for more relationships, like Sierra touched upon, to add to their pipeline. And so they had different ways of using the product. But at the end of the day, when you're looking for a new funder, the workflow becomes the same. Uh, the ones that are experienced will probably have more potential LinkedIn connections. But then what's interesting is that, and this is where one of the use cases was, um, there might have been people from your high school or people from your college or people from your neighborhood, whatnot, that you were became LinkedIn friends with for a while back ago, and they're like the second connection to a potential board member who's sitting in Long Island, right? To another foundation that has not that you will never think about. So there is this workflow literally came with a lot of the conversation that we had in the SC community, and then generally speaking, you saw the save button was relevant, and we did that because that's an easy thing, like workflow ways. If I need to save this, I want to come back to it. But when we're making structural improvements to the product, we have some pattern recognition of like 5 to 10 organizations are saying the same thing, and then we act upon that. But great insight from the SC community, and just like there's no bias here. If you guys see us in other webinars, we just held a LinkedIn webinar with the LinkedIn team for 3,000 nonprofits. We're saying the same thing. So it's not that we're saying this because we have people here from the SE community. It's the truth. We a great relationship with Karen. Took a chance upon us to work with her and the SE team, and then from there we've been learning a lot of improvements.
Thank you, Abdi. That was very kind of you to tell us that. Minnie had a question. She said, can Grantlytics help with how to reapproach a funder that did not respond to an initial contact?
So that's very interesting. We can make that more deliberate within the platform. But one thing that it probably zoomed by it was when I showed the outreach plan. We do have part of it is like the cadence, right? In terms of reaching out. Okay, here, just if they don't respond to your first contact, wait 2 weeks and reach out to and say this message instead, right? And so we do provide follow-ups within the platform as well. But that's something that's Minnie, that's a great observation in terms of a more specific use case in terms of how do future follow-ups actually look like as well. Because just because they didn't respond to the first contact, it might not be the funder itself. Maybe there's a different person that we could be reaching out to as well, right? We can identify that.
Yeah, just I love to jump in all the time because I'm seeing a lot of different things as well. You can have the program out, you can reach out to a foundation, a funder, and in that organization, it's almost similar as a nonprofit or any other organization. People have different specific roles, and even though they're all program officers, they serve different specific communities or different initiatives, different projects, different programs. So what you'll see in the LinkedIn that Kedar was talking about, you have the outreach. It shows you like step by step what to say and how to talk about your organization when you're reaching out. But when you also click on program officer, you'll see who are the potential people that will be more relevant for me to send a message to versus others. Thank you so much, Minnie.
All right. I thank you, Minnie, for writing that. I know that there are other questions. Please write those in the chat, and so that we can take advantage of their expertise and their knowledge. Anybody else have a question? I may have missed this, but how does the platform determine which organizations are considered peers? Did you mention that before?
Yeah, so generally speaking, when you onboard in the platform, you create a profile. And your profile has the mission, it has the vision, it has what you guys do, what you're looking for, the type of funding that you're interested in securing, as well as your operational budget, if you have received grants before, from who, etc. There's a few things that take about 60 to 90 seconds to share with us. And with that, we use that with your search inquiry to find funders that are funding your type of organizations.
And also, just to add on that, you can actually add your own peers as well. So there are organizations that are similar to you. You can add them, and then we'll show you who's funding them as well.
That's an interesting one because if you look at if you know someone in your community is getting funding, but they're not sharing, Well, now you can do that. You can just go in there and put it in and be like, well, you don't have to share it with me. I'll find it myself.
All right. We're as we wrap up, please thank you so much for your sharing your knowledge and just sharing your heart. We appreciate it so much. But I would love, Abdi, Kedar, I'd love for you both to share a little bit about the book and maybe where we could get that and you know what it's about.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that. So, as you can see, I think it's this side. Build or Get Left Behind is a book that I wrote with help from Kedar and my professors at the school. It's essentially focused on helping anyone to go from being a consumer and conversationalist with AI by chatting with it all the time to start building with it. And building shouldn't sound something scary or out of your comfort zone. It's literally what you're chatting with, just building some workflow. In the example that we had today, spreadsheets. If you are doing a spreadsheet, and you have a spreadsheet, but you kind of want to automate that process of from my email, whatever you see in there, put it on my spreadsheet so it's clear to my peers. It's an easy way to do that through AI. So it helps organizations and anyone to understand that the path from going to communicate with AI to actually building with it is much, much shorter than what it sounds like. So don't be scared about it. The book is very simple, and I'll share a chapter of that on email to Heidi, which she can then distribute to the
Wonderful.
community. And please build with AI because that will help you improve your workflows and get things done much faster. But it also makes yourself 10xing yourself and being more capable.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your participation, and Sierra too. Thank you so much. I wanted to get a couple suggestions for some things that workshops and webinars that we have coming up for Together SC. Our Carolina Leadership Seminars are a wonderful learning opportunity for CEOs, EDs, and nonprofit leaders. This fall, there's 4 sessions and a 5th graduation, and we're still accepting applications for that. Our next webinar is Overcoming CEO Burnout. And that is next Wednesday. And then we have an in-person workshop presented by the Winkler Group called the Fundraising Workshop. And I went to the one that was in Charleston. It was excellent. And it's something that I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of. Thank you again for your participation, and we hope that you have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Sarah. Thanks, Abdi. Thanks, Kedar.